Hi, my name is Jonathan Hammond, and I'm with Hammond Safety Consulting. Today, we're talking about weaknesses and strengths of management in a behavior-based safety program. Many managers and business leaders have set out to create, champion, and promote a strong safety culture in their respective businesses, only to find that their employees and frontline workers just don't get it. When we study the behavior of the individuals leading a team or managing a staff, it provides some very surprising insight. It is not unusual when these leaders learn this insight that they begin to squirm. Those managers and leaders I have spoken with have almost always complained that the performance and the culture are not up to the level that the managers, have tried to espouse. What I'm able to show these managers is that they are getting exactly the safety culture and safe levels of productivity that they are truly promoting. And it is certainly not the one they believed they were. When it all begins and a company wants to establish a safety program, many of these leaders are given training as to what is expected of them. But too often, this is a large fundamental shift from a pre-safety culture to the new one. No manager sets out to fail. Nor do they want to overload their frontline workers. All of this combines into a force that seems to take on a life of its own. Safety statistics stay the same or get worse. Workers repeatedly say, safety comes second here, leaving the management wondering, what did these workers miss? The surprise, of course, to management is that the workers did not usually miss much. In order for the culture to change from no program to one with a program, that shift has to include the workers. This is sometimes the most overlooked resource in a business's attempt to achieve a true safety culture. Without the buy-in of all the workers, there is no more movement to a safe workplace than there would be if there was no movement at all. The responsibility of the managers is to encourage and teach safety, but they are failing. WCB rates are higher than they would like. And oftentimes workers are making mistakes that will ultimately lead to an infraction or injury. And your lost times are through the roof. You're preaching safety, but that just doesn't seem to be accepted. And your workers keep saying that it is only an empty idea. You are not alone. There are companies all around Alberta that are struggling with this very same problem. In fact, there are companies across Canada and around the world that are suffering with this very same problem. That behavior-based models of safety are not working. Yet there are so many examples, and you may know of one, where the behavior-based system works fantastic. So what's wrong? What is going wrong? No manager actually sets out to sabotage their own safety program. But that is exactly what is happening. And that is where the solution lies. Workers have had a long time to be entrenched in the very way that the leader is actually leading, and not in the words. Many a parent has said, do what I say, not what I do. Inverted, the workers that you have are doing what they see you do and learning from your actions, not from the empty words. Giving a simple example of this, a firm that I was working with had reduced its lost time, reduced its WCB costs, and was a shining example to the corporate structure. One day, a major infraction did occur, and the workers complained whole and completely that the management only promoted safety when it wasn't busy. When the rush jobs came in, safety was on the back burner. Once the manager heard this, his jaw nearly hit the floor. He was shocked that this attitude could exist in his advanced safety culture. His stats showed glowing success. As the infraction was investigated and the investigation ensued, the one thing that came to light is the same thing that comes to light in so many infractions. The simple fact is that when we enforce safety, we mistakenly enforce the status quo. These workers had realized that as long as money was easy, safety came first. But the management buy-in ended when the rushes came through the door. Essentially, the management had sabotaged the safety culture by not supporting it in its fundamental parts. As the management failed to reinforce the requirement to be and feel safe, it actually reinforced this idea of safety second. Now, every example seems different, but the biggest problem of poor behavior-based safety is one of the managers allowing infractions. In one case, the requirement to wear safety goggles was clear, but several older, valued employees, mentoring employees, just didn't follow it. They were rewarded for their knowledge and hard work, but were not disciplined for their failure to comply, and they were teaching others. In another, the worker who rushes through a job doing it without any concern for safety is rewarded for working hard and making more profit for the company, as long as nothing goes wrong. In another case, it was an unspoken rule that if there wasn't enough fall arrest equipment, just do the job, but be very, very careful. In a very basic form, we inadvertently reinforce a non-safety culture based on a series of perceived behaviors. Getting the job done quickly is a higher priority than getting it done safely. And not complying is acceptable too. After all, no one has ever been disciplined specifically for an unsafe act, despite a policy to that effect. There are more interactions than managers promote during a normal day that have the net effect of reinforcing or extinguishing poor safety behaviors. Your frontline workers have a deadline, but if they try to do it safely, it takes too long, and it doesn't pay to extend the work. An employee comes into your office to complain about someone or something that broke a safety rule. But in the interest of getting them back to work or out of your office so you can get back to work, you only pay them lip service and say, I'll look into it or I'll take care of it. But because of your busy schedule, it never gets done. Likewise, you see people in your staff that are not wearing the proper safety equipment. You make a mental note to make sure you tell them about it. Or you tell them and make a mental note to make sure they follow, and it never gets done. That teaches them that safety is second. In a staff meeting, as another example, where a young worker may have a great idea on how to improve safety, but his idea is often belittled by senior workers and management, saying, we've always done it that way. They are therefore taught that safety is second. And you wonder why, after all the work you've done to promote safety, that the crew and frontline workers just don't seem to get it. Well, they do get it. And you have to ask, why then are safety events on the rise, or why are staff not engaged enough and no one is willing to come up with new ideas? The road to a safety culture is made up on many behavior shifts. The frontline workers need a cultural shift, but do not fall into that trap that your management or leadership do not make that behavioral and cultural shift too. Your behavior must match the culture that you seek. You must change in order to obtain the kind of safety culture you desire. The start is to assess and recognize that these sabotaging behaviors are happening, and you need to identify and accept them. These then turn into behaviors of production, safety behaviors. Many leaders and managers fail because they don't know which behaviors are counterproductive. They may not recognize those that need to be promoted. They need help. Obtaining the services of a safety professional can turn yourselves around and get these corrected safety behaviors into the behaviors that you want, filling up those behavioral gaps. If you're not sure that you have a problem, ask yourself, am I getting all that I want from my safety program? Is my safety culture deep and true? Or is it just struggling as all new safety cultures do? Sometimes it's very difficult to identify your own flaws and even more difficult to accept them. Sometimes the objective safety professional can help. It's important that you be intentional, that you identify the safety behaviors you want and start to reinforce those behaviors. This is never easy, but as your workers see that your behavior changes, they will start to see that safety is important to you. Once this happens, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see that your workers work safely because they want to and because they know that you have their backs. The workers will be quick to suggest new, safer techniques because they will know that it will be considered, reviewed, and maybe even rewarded. Those workers that refuse, for whatever reason, to jump on board, those that will not take part in this shift, you have to accept. One behavior that must change is that those workers have no place in that organization. The new organization requires safe behavior. So the next time you're preparing for a safety meeting, either as a leader, guide, or participant, ask yourself, are my behaviors promoting my vision? If they are, then you're on the road to a true safety culture. If not, write down that behavior, make a change it, and get it to a true safe behavior. You cannot expect your workers to accept a fundamental shift in safety cultures until the management and leaders make that fundamental shift to a true behavior-based safety culture. I am Jonathan Hammond with Hammond Safety Consulting. Anytime you need help with your behavior-based safety culture, give us a call, 403-969-8560, or check out our website at www.hammondsafetyexperts.ca, and have yourself a very safe day.